Hi there, beautiful human. You are listening to Meditations, a chronically chill self-care practice podcast exploring the different traditions and techniques of self-reflection in order to heal the mind-body connection. I want to start this off by saying I'm not exactly an expert. I'm just a person who's been exploring the tools of nervous system integration for a couple years now on a journey to heal childhood trauma and debilitating chronic health issues. A simple self-reflection practice has been one of the most important aspects to my healing, but health is part of a complex ecosystem that should be managed with the help of qualified professionals. These meditations are intended to be used in addition to your other self-care habits. You're listening to episode 1. Why do I meditate? In this podcast series, I'll offer personal insights, dive into research, interview experts, and guide you through a new meditation technique in every episode. By starting this podcast, I'm hoping to create, we'll call it a space of trust, where I trust you with my vulnerability as I explore these tools openly, and where you trust yourself to receive the medicine that your soul is craving, no matter how silly it may feel at first. Think of this podcast as a space to try something new with a supportive friend. And since this is the first episode, I'll take a little bit of time to tell you about my path to meditation. My name is Emerson. No, I was not born with that name. It came to me in a dream and wrapped itself around my soul with a whisper of promise, so that when I woke up, I heard its echo in the still small voice at the back of my mind, and I knew. I understood that this name was a gift from God to remind me of my fearless exploration of purpose. That I am not this body or this experience, but an infinite expansion of potential. I've always understood my sense of self to be something different, something both and neither, a liminal space of possibility. I think that's part of what draws me to meditation. I am the gender-confused middle child between an older brother and a younger sister, like the gradient in between. I have been anxious for as long as I can remember. My first memories are actually recurring nightmares, and my first panic attack happened before I could even tie my shoes. I've been bracing my body against the world since I was born, when the delivering obstetrician proclaimed, "Cut the cord or the baby dies." And the echo has reverberated through my life ever since. Searing pain. Something has pierced the back of my calf like a needle, stitching upward toward my knee and cinching the muscle up and in. I wake up with a strangled scream in my throat, hot, wet hair matted to my face, my sight dissolving into cavernous blackness. The pain is so bad I can't breathe. I don't dare to breathe because I might scream or cry and it would be too loud, too noticeable. The house is dark and everyone is asleep. Be quiet. Go to sleep. Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet becomes my mantra. I hold my breath. I hold my breath for so long, the edge of my vision grows impossibly darker, and finally I gasp and kick the force of my tiny body down through my right heel. The shock of sudden inhale floods my body with oxygen, my calf releases, and I am nauseous with relief. I am 6 years old and alone. I later learn that this is called a Charlie horse, and I assume it's normal and happens to everyone. But it feels like my ragdoll body is being stitched together from the inside, the ticklish twinkle of my nervous system misfiring in a knotted web around my bones. I am tall and awkward, so we call them growing pains. I am 10, 11, 12 years old, and I'm vomiting so often the principal of my school calls home to ask if I'm pregnant. Later, a doctor I'd never seen before or since will call it psychosomatic. It'll take me a long time to understand that meant he didn't believe me. I'm in science class after lunch when it begins. With an out-of-control flutter in the center of my being, a gripping, nauseous feeling seeping from my belly, creeping all around my body. My mouth is salivating and my muscles feel limp. I'm willing myself to take a deep breath, but it's like my body has lost power and I don't have control. I'm exhausted, and I can't hold my head up. All of my energy is being drained toward my pounding rib cage. I'm cheek down on a grimy desk, sweat pooling in my hairline, and I can feel the shell of my body crashing back and forth with every irregular heartbeat. My body is out of control, and I just need one single breath. But the flutter of my diaphragm accelerates until my stomach is palpating, and I am vomiting up my lunch into a waste bin in front of 20 of my peers. The muscles on the right side of my body all gradually twitch like blinking lights from that point into my late 20s until all of my joints grind together and my muscles freeze with a permanent grimace of pain stretched across my face. My blood tests are normal. My sometimes doctors at walk-in clinics are indifferent to diagnosing me, even after I stop digesting food properly and lose way too much weight, way too quickly. Instead, they congratulate me on not being fat, as if that's a diagnosis. It isn't until I start waking up in the middle of the night with tachycardia and I stop eating because my jaw seizes closed that I finally find a family doctor who recognizes the signs of nervous system dysfunction and inflammatory autoimmune disease. It felt like my body was smoldering, like my muscles had turned to heavy clay and were weighing me down. If you've never made pottery, as the water leaves clay and the molecules of sediment settle and harden, it loses density and it shrinks. It felt like my body was hardening into nothingness, and I didn't have the energy to crack the shell of myself. I had no idea who I was anymore, and I wanted to die. I had been lost inside the exploration of my own pain for so long, I had no idea how to be a person. But instead of trying to die, it was at that point that I began my first death meditation and started learning how to survive myself. We tend to think of our bodies as something we are instead of something we do. But imagine for a second that you, everything that you know yourself to be, your core essence or the purest, most uninhibited version of yourself is the pilot, and your body is just machinery. Your core self is the unchanging, pure potential of creation. The machinery itself just functions on consequences. Certain inputs, whether conscious or unconscious, intentional or unintentional, result in certain outputs. My earliest feelings and memories were fearful, so that's what my body recreated for me. My natural drive toward self-protection, my fight-flight response, had been triggered to stay on, so my endocrine system was exhausting itself trying to keep up. Because my body was telling me I was in danger, my brain kept looking for danger everywhere until that was all I saw. Our nerves sense the world around us and send signals to the brain. The brain, being the semi-efficient storehouse that it is, helps the body interpret that information based on previous experiences and sends the signal back to the body to create certain hormone states, which give us certain feelings. Those hormone states are then stored in your body as sense memories. Every time we have an experience, our body, with the help of our brain, is filing it away for reference. This becomes our programming, our wiring, or our personality, how we express ourselves. And this sense of ourselves starts forming as a baby before we ever consciously realize what's happening. Okay, imagine it. You're born. You're a cute, helpless alien robot. You spend the first few years of your life learning everything you need to know about being human, all before you're able to consciously recall memory. You have a certain kind of experience. You react to that experience and store it with an emotional tone so that you can respond faster later. By the time you're even old enough to consciously remember anything, your sense of self has already been built on a series of other people's choices. Instead of the pure light of your own infinite being, you become a constellation of other people's feelings, attitudes, and reactions. The pilot within you is always trying to express the best version of you, but it can only do so much while the machinery is running on autopilot. For traumatized or marginalized people, so much of our experience is formed in opposition to power structures or as a response to microaggressions or in defiance of oppression. Eventually, those things become part of our operating system and it becomes harder to access our core sense of self. Instead, we become the versions of ourselves that are just reacting to the world. So, how do you reverse engineer this experience to take control of the body and tap into that place of pure potential? Stillness, introspection, self-inquiry, and radical honesty. By another name, meditation. That could refer to mindfulness, Buddhist or Hindu practices, or any number of modern techniques to help access the reparative states of the body. Really simply, meditation is defined as the progressive quieting of the mind until it reaches the source of the mind, whatever that means to you, whether the source is the pure presence of a balanced nervous system or a spiritual connection with God and the divine. I think that by exploring these practices, you might discover that it's both and. The magic of changing your mind relies on both science and spirituality. Meditation as a practice exists within an intersecting Venn diagram of science and spirit that's becoming increasingly unified or made whole by our understanding of the human nervous system. Meditation allows us to explore the possibility of balance for both the physical body and the energetic body. Through stillness, we can come to see ourselves and our conditions clearly. Once we see ourselves, we can use the power of our imagination to heal, to expand, to grow, and to become something new. When we can see ourselves mentally creating change, we believe we can. When we believe we can, we create the efforts and actions necessary to actually change our lives. This is the practice of refinement that happens when we become present to our experiences. The most radical act in the fight against fascism, systemic oppression, or even your own personal demons is developing a strong foundation to resist from. In order to build community resilience, we have to build personal resilience. With personal resilience, we develop personal power. We use the tools of stillness and self-reflection in order to expand our natural psychic capability and change the way we think about our experiences. And when we do that, we begin to influence our external world. Here's a secret hack I learned. The body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imaginary. Take a look at studies about the placebo effect, and you'll see that the body can heal itself just by thinking it's possible. I spent years focusing on illness, identifying with disability, and recreating the self-fulfilling cycle of illness in my body. When I saw myself as complete, as whole, I began to feel that way in my body. I realized I could take control of my misfiring brain and my exhausted endocrine system by imagining new neural pathways into existence. This isn't to say that you can just mindfulness your way out of the violent domination that happens to so many queer, transgender, Black, Indigenous, fat, poor, or disabled people. It's not as simple as think happy thoughts and good things will happen. This podcast isn't a space for toxic positivity, and this work is not passive. Self-work is a gutting internal battle against your shadow self. When I said I wanted to create a space for vulnerability, that means holding space for all of the difficult emotions we experience. Learning to steady your sense of self against the energetic assaults of the world takes dedication, practice, and an unwavering ability to face things you may not like. But your body is a finely tuned machine that's capable of giving you psychic information you've only ever dreamed about. But first, you have to clear out and uncorrupt the system. Meditation not only releases the stress states that accumulate in the body and cause illness, but can also enhance your perception to unimaginable brilliance. You know, I think we're experiencing a cultural resurgence towards spirituality, while at the same time reaching new depths of understanding through science. The funny part is, we think the two modalities are completely separate, but they're really two ways of experiencing the same incomprehensible thing. To review, your body, your physical experience, is a construction of fluctuating energies perceived and interpreted by the nervous system. The human body contains the bridge between the physical manifestation of matter and the energetic source of creation. When these energies align and the nervous system is balanced, you cultivate a deep well of power that you can use to mindfully craft your experience. When I committed to healing my body, I understood that it would be a process of accepting and nurturing myself. In order to gain control of this runaway vessel, I'd first have to listen and understand. Self-control is about compassion, not domination. It's about finding stillness, seeking your edge, and expanding outward with every breath. Meditation helps us build our capacity for self-compassion, self-acceptance, self-love. When we embrace these qualities in ourselves, we'll create the conditions for them to flourish in the world. Everyone keeps saying, the world is burning down. Well, we need to look to an ethics of love in order to create a generative system that will heal the ways in which we've been poisoned. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve to connect with something deeper than the individual self reacting against a hostile world. You deserve to feel held in a collective experience where your perspective is cherished and valued. You deserve to give yourself exactly the kind of love you've always craved. And you can create that connection for yourself. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to go to a specific church, and you don't even need to believe in God. You just need to believe that you're worth it. Imagine yourself doing it and create the space for it to happen. As a chronically sick person, I use meditation as a very practical tool to help manage my experience of the world. But I've gotta say, before I started doing yoga and meditating daily, nothing pissed me off more than an able-bodied neurotypical person saying, have you tried yoga? It seems like such a trite, overly simplistic response to what is a really complex and often difficult experience of the world. Then I started doing the work, and I realized exactly how much I was missing because these tools just weren't explained to me by people who understood my experience. I'm not an expert here. I'm someone like you, just working to be my best self in every moment, even if it's not always great or easy. And I hope you'll join me on this journey of self-exploration. Today, we'll practice a very basic introduction to self-reflection. If you don't have a meditation practice, this may feel challenging to you at first, but I want to encourage you to think of this as a playful experiment rather than work. The more excited you are to explore the depths of your experience, the easier it will be to make meditation a consistent part of your life. First, let's see what it feels like to sit quietly. There's no need to focus on anything specific. If you have a meditation technique you normally use, abandon it for this practice so you can compare your two experiences. Just sit quietly. That's it. No need to focus on anything specific. How many different thoughts have you had so far? Go ahead and close your eyes. It might help keep you in the present moment a little longer, or you may find your mind wanders more easily. Allow yourself to sit in silence for a few moments. Allow your thoughts to wander. It's okay. Don't focus on them, but don't try to prevent them from happening either. In this practice, we're just sitting. How long can you sit before you're lost in thought and thinking about something you either need to do or something you've already done? It's very hard to sit and be in the present moment and allow sensations to happen around you without getting sucked in. The ability to be mindful to the present moment is actually an advanced practice. So if sitting in silence without anything to focus on felt weird or pointless to you, you're not alone. Meditation is more than just sitting still. We're trying to quiet the brain from our most active brainwave states to the most restful. To do that, we often need to use some technique to distract the thinking mind while intentionally engaging the relaxation response at the same time. Try sitting in the present moment while giving your default brain something to process. With meditation, there are dozens of techniques that you can use to harness the power of your default brain. The key is to gently rest your awareness on something, sort of like a passing thought, rather than focusing your attention. We want the body to remain relaxed and the mind free to explore. Imagine experiencing the feeling of heaviness and lightness at the same time. It sounds like a contradiction, but it takes practice to train your focus with nonchalance. Here are a couple of techniques you can use to occupy your thinking mind. First, explore your awareness of your breath. Without forcing your breath to be any specific way, begin to become aware of the space where your breath enters your body. Notice where your breath lands in your body. Consciously feel your body breathing in and out without judgment or control. If training your awareness on your breath or the sensation of your body doesn't work for you, you could practice listening. Hear all the sounds around you like a symphony without discernment or classification. Imagine all of your senses are quieting except for your hearing. Your hearing is growing stronger, and you can perceive the vibration of every subtle sound. If a thought distracts you, the sounds of the present moment return you to your body. My favorite way to hack my nervous system to calm anxiety and bring me back to the present moment is to experience each of my senses while mindfully relaxing my body. Now that you have a couple pointers and some direction, set a timer for 10 minutes and practice being present with yourself in whatever way feels most comfortable. The point isn't to have all the answers right now or to do it right. The point is to explore, play, and to create a moment just for you. When you're done, I highly recommend journaling your reflections and any thoughts that came up, either by tapping into the Notes app on your phone or writing by hand in a notebook. A few sentences helps deepen your self-reflection practice by giving you space to release your thoughts and expectations. It seems simple, but it's a powerful way to keep yourself accountable. Thank you so much for joining me for Chronically Chill Self-Care Meditations. If you want to receive the standalone practice for each episode, sign up for my newsletter. For weekly insights and behind-the-scenes exclusives, join the community on Patreon. Chronically Chill Self-Care Productions are community-driven, and I'm always curious to hear your thoughts. How did your practice go? What sort of meditation do you want to try? Send me a message. Links for all of this and more on my website, chronicallychillcare.com. I'm so glad you're here with me. I can't wait to try a new meditation technique next time. And in case no one else says it to you today, I love you, and you're worth it.